From the very beginning, EmergeNYC has strived to be the most immersive and realistic firefighting simulator on the market. Part of this update has been asking ourselves the question, how can we do better than the new games who are dipping their toes in this genre? The actual firefighting gameplay is perhaps the most important aspect of a game like this, and looking back, our previous fire mechanics and effects were mediocre at best. I've redesigned the entire fire and water systems from the ground up with all new particle effects, smoke and steam effects, dynamic charring, and now for the first time we are introducing virtually completely destructible environments. I'll be covering this and a lot more in this video. This before and after shot is to give people a sense of the improvements. We've done several changes and additions to the fire, including lighting that flickers, reflects off of its surroundings and even buildings nearby, giving it a much more realistic look. Dynamic burning shaders have been added. Anywhere that fire is burning, a residual heat remains. A burning effect will appear, and areas that have burned and been extinguished or burnt out will appear black and charred. The brightness and color of the fire has also been adjusted. All fire sounds have been completely redone with a random library of over 20 different fire sounds, which improve the overall immersion over the previous single fire sound effect. Refraction, heat blur, and embers have also been added to the fires to give them the most believable and realistic looks possible. Sounds for the fire being extinguished, and even the sound of water dripping and charring after the fire lingers for some time. One of the most game-changing improvements we've done is that fires will always start in a random location, rather than the same fire starting in the same place every time. Wind now affects the smoke of all fires, and with random wind direction and speed, the smoke and steam plumes look much more realistic and constantly shift, making some areas easier to search when the wind is blowing the smoke away, and the next second, completely banked down. We've completely redone and optimized the smoke effects. The smoke and steam is now volumetric, meaning it is affected by the lighting around it. Light from the fire, your flashlight, emergency lights, and even the sun affect the shading and shadows in the smoke. All of this while looking much better and also much less impactful on your frame rate than the previous smoke. Thermal layering is also a thing, meaning that the smoke rises and hangs on the ceiling. Staying low when searching is now more effective than before. The smoke particles have collisions which prevent them from going through walls, roofs, and the smoke will now only seep out of openings that it can fit through. For the first time in any firefighting game, we are introducing fully destructible environments. This has been something requested by the community for years, and up until now felt like an impossible task. Every part of the fire building minus the exterior frame is now destructible. This means every fire will be completely different. Roofs and ceilings weakened by the fire can collapse and block your exit. The floor below you can give way, and fire can hide inside the walls and sneak its way around you or even above you. All of this is dynamic and not event scripted in any way. Simply put, any part of the building that is damaged enough by fire or the player can and will collapse or break, even down to the wooden pillars inside of the walls and in between the floors. One of the things we knew needed to be improved were the water effects. While I was at it, I went ahead and redid the nozzle mechanics. The nozzle is now opened or closed with the scroll wheel on the mouse acting as the nozzle's handle, allowing you to adjust the pressure and amount of water you want coming out of the nozzle. The sounds have also been redone, all of this adding to the immersion. To top it off, water puddles appear on the environment and even on your character. With all of these new improvements to fire and smoke, it can be very difficult when doing searches, looking for fire through the smoke and steam, or when disoriented, finding your way to a window or a door. For this reason, we've implemented the new thermal camera. The thermal camera will show you where residual heat and fire are hiding, whether it's behind thick smoke, under debris, or in the walls. The thermal camera is your go-to tool when searching for heat and fire. When doing searches for victims, the smoke can become blinding, and the need for the thermal camera may arise to try to find a victim in the thick smoke. If you become trapped and disoriented and need a way out quickly, the thermal camera can clearly see through the smoke, and doorways and window frames can be seen clearly. This is a very useful addition to the game and one of my favorite new tools. Another thing that we felt could be improved was roof cutting and roll-up door cutting. Previously, you simply held your saw to a lock or a square piece of roof until it came loose. While you still have the option of cutting a lock off a roll-up, you can now cut more dynamic cuts in the roof and roll-up doors depending on the direction and angle you're cutting. Once the cuts have been made, you can use any of the hitting tools to break the cut pieces off. This is still a work in progress mechanic. With collapses and destruction added, it can be easy to miss a fire victim in a primary search. Once the smoke has lifted and the visibility has improved, the need for secondary searches is much higher in this new update. Victims can be buried under debris and easily blend into all the mess. Hotspots can ignite small fires long after the main body of fire has been extinguished. Washing down any glowing debris will prevent this from happening. Most pieces of furniture and debris can be grabbed with the mouse and thrown or moved, meaning it is now possible to overhaul, and you can even throw furniture out of windows. LC has been hard at work continuing his work on redoing all vehicle sounds and has completed all of the Manhattan and Montgomery County units. Another addition to the overall immersion is live radio. Depending on whether you're in Manhattan or Brooklyn, you will hear live real-life dispatch audio with less than a minute delay, which can be heard inside of a rig or within a certain distance near the rig. 8 new companies have been added. One feature that has been lacking for a while now is fully functional traffic lights. Traffic lights now indicate their actual status, and cars will stop and behave as they should at an intersection. This is very useful when knowing when to be on the lookout for traffic coming from the sides at an intersection. Possibly the most important part of this update has been working on optimizations. While adding these new features, we kept in mind the possible impact on performance that this could all have. The top 3 performance impacting issues were smoke, the hose physics, and a long list of repetitive errors. All of these have been addressed, and much more to give our players a much smoother gameplay. The fire hoses have been completely redone and are now 80% less impactful on performance. The new volumetric smoke effects, while looking much more realistic and believable, are now 90% more efficient than the previous smoke effects. Many other things that should not be taking load on the CPU have been optimized, and the performance improvement will be noticeable for all players.
Engine 214. Engine 214. 214 responding. Ladder 111. 111 responding. Ladder 111. We just got another call. Paulman 6 David. Check. 111 64. That's 4 in their trap check. We're going to be trying to reach them. 7. Rollup gets blocked. Caller and Paulman 6 David reporting track of engine 222, squad 256. Good engine 222. 222. You're responding box 786. 10-4, responding.